So, welcome to Policing TV, and I'm absolutely delighted to be joined here by Tom Andrews, who's a lecturer in policing at Derby University, a regular contributor to Policing Insight, and a former police sergeant with Nottinghamshire Police, amongst many other things. And we'll come on to the uh, potentially the many other things in just a moment or two. So, Tom, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us here on Policing TV.
Thank you for having me,
Uh,
Bernard.
One of the, I could have gone on further on your introduction because you've got quite a CV and several strings to your bow, including the author of a number of books and including being the editor of the Police History Society. Uh, um, so hopefully I've got all that right. Feel free to correct me or modify or add to any of that.
Yeah,
At
no,
this stage.
that's all spot on. Yeah,
One, what brought us most recently in touch was a post that you put onto LinkedIn just in the last week or so, where you were talking about pay of police officers here in England and Wales. So tell us what it was in that post that drew my attention.
yeah. So I I was doing some research around police entry and kind of what attracts police officers. It's a big issue at the moment around retention and recruitment, and I. It's a common complaint at the moment around police pay and conditions and things. So I wanted to compare the entry wages of a police officer to what would essentially be a minimum wage salary. And I looked at, obviously, police officers work a 40-hour week. If you factor in the fact that they then have 4 separate sessions per week of 30 minutes for the King, that can become a 42-hour working week. Is the
Yes, perhaps just
expectation.
explain the 30 minutes for the king. Used to be for the queen, of course,
Yeah.
bless her. That, but in essence, this is that you have to work, or you may be required to work an additional 30 minutes beyond your normal shift before you start accruing overtime. That's the essence of it, isn't
Yeah,
it?
absolutely. Yeah, and that was bought out. So that kind of commitment to that overtime was bought out in 1994, and officers received a £270 pay rise for that, which is equivalent to £450 today. So the entry wage for a police officer today, once they've finished training and things, is £29,000 or £29,907, which is publicly available information. I then worked out what would a minimum wage salary look like for a 40-hour working week, factored up for over the year, and that then came to a total of 25,397. So we can see there already there's only a difference of some £4,000, and that is only an 18% above the minimum wage salary. So the minimum wage salary and then police starting salary is 18% higher. I wanted to look, because I do research around police entry and police education, and one of the criticisms levelled at current recruitment is that officers are very young, no life experience, and sort of don't know what they're doing. And I wanted to look at what is attracting people to join the police, and why was it sort of this rose-tinted glasses approach of, 20 years ago, whatever, we had much better, much older cops. And I found statistics, actually the average age of a police entrant 20 years ago was only 1 year older than it is now. But I also wanted to look at the salary and sort of remuneration packages of a police officer. So in 2002, the entry wage for a police officer was £19,842. Minimum wage salary at the same time was £8,528. So the police entry wages at that time was 23 times, 230% more than the national minimum wage, and that's now dipped to just 18% bigger. So
So
we're looking at
2.3
this.
times, just
Yeah.
over double. Yeah.
So yeah, 2.3 times greater, and now it's 0.18 times bigger, and that gap between minimum wage and police starting salary has just shrunk and
So
shrunk.
it's just such a stark difference that if we go back to the 2002, then the police starting salary was over two times the national minimum wage. Nowadays, in 2025, it's just 10% higher than the minimum wage. So that stark difference. So it rather invites the question. Your research is on what attracts people to join the police. It would appear it's not the money.
It doesn't appear to be the money, no. And this is a big argument that the Police Federation and things are making at the moment. And they term it the P factor, which is the sort of reward and incentives that's given to police officers for taking on the level of responsibility and risk that they have to do in society. I just don't feel that exists now. If you want to go into an entry level profession, you could go into a minimum wage job and earn nearly as much as a police officer. And then when you factor in that sort of national pension contributions at 8%, but police officers are paying some 13.5%, that reduces that gap even further. Police officers have to work 24/7 shifts, 365 days a year. Antisocial hours payments are only paid for hours worked between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. That only increases 10% as well. So it doesn't increase that remuneration drastically either. And you can look at it against pay rises in other public sector areas as well, where other protective services like fire, ambulance, doctors, nurses, etc., their pay has gone up on average in that 20 years by 98%, whereas police pay has only gone up by 40%. So if you want to compare what those other agencies are doing for the public versus the police, why is it felt that the police aren't doing a significant job or aren't entitled to as much recompense, an increase in salary?
So you're still very much engaged in your research into what it is that attracts people into policing for a career. What's the timescale of that research that you're conducting? Are you early in that research? Are you deep into it, and how much longer do you expect it to be before you have your conclusions able to draw?
So the research is mostly focused around whether police officers benefit from a better education or a higher education kind of input into policing. So the pay aspect is one part of that, because it's often criticised that they're sort of earning a degree if they come in the PCDA route, that's the apprenticeship entry route, and they're earning a degree after 3 years, so it becomes a graduate profession. And that's where it kind of comes around that until recently there was a drive to make policing a graduate entry profession. So if we want that, then do we need to pay a graduate level wage, which obviously isn't the case at the moment. So the research is kind of coming to a conclusion. I would hope to have the finished work out in a couple of months' time, I would think, looking to assess the benefits of higher education and what attracts cops to policing around that.
Well, fascinating, and hopefully we can return to that once in that handful of months and learn more from you, either here on Policing TV or through, excuse me, you're writing something for Policing Insight. Um, what's then to the future beyond that? What do you have in mind to focus your efforts on?
So the police education aspect is a massive passion of mine. I left policing specifically to come and teach new police officers, because I firmly and passionately believe that if you give officers the skills, not only the practical operational skills, but the background knowledge, the theories, the research, and the ability to access that knowledge, policing will become infinitely better. And we're seeing the broadening of understanding around concepts like evidence-based policing and things. And in the short time since I've left policing to become a lecturer, the amount of knowledge that I've gained, that I think if I knew that when I was a police officer, I could have been infinitely more effective. And the idea for me is to kind of spread that knowledge to new starters and make policing nationally and even internationally as good as it can be, in terms of looking at what the research says, like the College of Policing's favourite phrase, what works, looking at what works and forgetting the stuff that doesn't work. And I think if we can instill that kind of evidence-based approach into policing, like exists in medicine, for example, then policing can become better in nearly every aspect. And that's what I want to kind of bring nationally, hopefully influence policy, but even within that lecturing capacity on a local level and improve the future of police officers in the UK.
Well, I'd love for Policing TV and Policing Insights to share more of the work that you're doing. It does rather make me wonder what Captain Athelstan Popkess, the former Chief Constable of Nottingham City Police that we were speaking about earlier, might make of policing here in England and Wales right now. I suspect in many ways he wouldn't recognise it. In a number of ways he would be encouraged by the way in which it's developed. But I think on some things he would. I'm not sure whether he had hair or not, but if he had any, he'd be tearing it out, thinking, "What on earth are they doing?" But Tom, this has been absolutely fascinating. I am going to go and get that book available. Amazon, I think you said, and
Yeah.
eBay. And I look forward to reading that and picking up with you on a number of matters in the coming months and beyond.
It's
Thank you
been a
very
pleasure,
much
Bernard.
indeed.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you.